If life was someday proven to be a simulation, what glitch or anomaly could you point to as a major clue we'd missed? The speed of light is the universal refresh rate. The Planck length is the universal pixel. Before cell phones, I accidentally misdialed a person's number and got them at someone else's house with the wrong number being 3 numbers off. Edit. Thanks for the awards. I talked to her for about a minute and she asked me how I got her uncle's number. I said I didn't have his number. I dialed hers. We both fell deadly silent thinking about how bizarre it was. The quantum eraser. Quantum physics as a whole feels like a huge dev shortcut. Things only exist in a definitive state when they are interacted with. Kind of like a GPU only rendering things when your character is looking at them. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. When you learn something new, it seems like you see it everywhere right after that. Like a video game, when you learn some new move, then it is immediately applicable to your life. You could say the strict laws of physics that govern our reality. If we were in, say, a video game, we'd eventually start wondering why the rules seem absolutely rigid mathematical. Maybe the speed of light is just the speed limit for transmitting information within the network of our simulation. Edit. A typo. When your pen gets lost as soon as it hits the floor, and then appears right there after some time. Deja rev. It's similar to deja vu, but it's where you've dreamed of a future moment. It's weird, and for me it hasn't been useful. But one moment I'll be experiencing life and know what's going to happen, because I saw it in a dream. I'll even know about my futile attempts to change it from the dream. It only lasts a couple minutes at most and is at mundane moments, but it is freaky. Welp. Yesterday while driving with my daughter in the car, she says, "Dad, I'm starting to feel that this whole human thing isn't real." So I guess that would be confirmed as my first hint. All those names of people in the news or running for different positions that just seem like the devs are messing with us. When you run into someone you don't know and you both stare at each other saying, "You look familiar. Do I know you?" And then ask a million questions trying to figure it out and come to the conclusion that you don't in fact know each other. Then walk away still wondering why that person looked so familiar. Capital C. The speed of light reads like a hotfix. Change notes for version 1.000000001. Latter game players have been reporting a bug where objects appear to spawn before the spawn conditions have been met, causing erroneous results. Testing reveals that objects traveling at very high speeds cause an int overflow on the time axis, resulting in unpredictable results and skyrocketing CPU usage. As a temporary fix, massless objects now have their velocity locked for call purposes. Objects with mass will require exponentially increasing energy to increase speed, hitting a hard wall at 3x10 circumflex 8 meters per second. This means interstellar travel is functionally disabled. Will eventually be addressed in the wormhole update, released bar. Why physics appears to operate under different rules depending on whether you are looking at very big things or very small things. If it is a simulation, they simply fake the big things to save processing power, which is why quantum physics doesn't fit neatly in our understanding of the universe and likely why we are detecting dark matter. IDK if this is just me, but I often have a boring dream of myself in a classroom or on a bus. Wake up and forget it pretty quickly. Then, many years later, I'm on a bus or in a classroom and I see something or hear something that I saw or heard in that dream. Then I suddenly remember that dream and get really confused. In reality, I probably dreamed about being in a different classroom or on a different bus, and my brain took this new but very similar event and overlaid it over the old dream, changing my memory of that dream. It's happened about 10 times in my life so far. The observer effect in quantum mechanics. When something is in multiple states at the same time and when you watch it, you force it to take a state. Just looks like a computer saving resources by not loading useless it. Edit. I got that there's probably something behind and it's not actually the fact we're watching it that does something. But if tomorrow we were able to prove we live in a simulation, then this would have been a hint. That thing where you go into a room for something and then forget why. Like a sim who had their action cancelled. That can't be for no reason. That was someone in our simulation cancelling our action. Millions of years of evolution and we can still accidentally bite our own tongue? That's some bullet. Some get sick for no reason and some who should be sick because of how they live seem super healthy. Periods. Let's leave a trail of blood for predators to follow at the same time that I'm curling up in a fetal position from cramps. Super suspicious. Sounds like it was made by the same people who put Sims in a pool and removed the ladder so they can drown. Black holes could be a glitch. Children who are convinced that they've lived before and know sometimes verifiable facts about the person they think they were. Nice try, simulation developers. Dreaming. How it could be a gateway to another universe or version of yourself. And how do we manage to forget most dreams, especially the important ones? The dual slit experiment. Basically, light acts like a wave when you look at it. But if you look at light really closely, you see it's not a continuous wave but made of teeny little particles called photons. These photons, when there's loads of them, affect each other so they act in waves. Seems simple. However, when you fire photons one at a time at a piece of card with 2 slits in it, they still act like they're being affected by lots of other photons around them. So whoever designed our simulation wanted to model light using waves. But it was too complex so made photons instead. The same way a curve in a video game is actually made of square pixels. They never figured we'd get smart enough to experiment on individual pixels. As Neil deGrasse Tyson likes to say, if we discover that we can simulate the universe, then more likely than not, we are probably living in a simulation ourselves. Often when I learn about something new I've never heard about, all of the sudden it starts appearing randomly in some TV show I'm watching or a news Reddit article. They should fix the targeted ad algorithm to make it less obvious I'm living in a simulation. Sometimes you get out of your house and walk past the same people a lot of times. Like, you are going to the market and walk past a dude walking the opposite direction. Then, you leave the market a couple of minutes and walk past the same dude. Again in the opposite direction. This it happens a lot with me and it's like a ton of people at the same time. It makes me feel like there aren't enough models of NPCs to throw around so the Matrix just uses a bunch of the same. Edit. Grammar. Walk through equals walk past. English is not my first language. Sorry. Look around the room you're in. Choose any random object within the room. What does it feel like to lick that object? You know what it feels like to have licked it. But have you ever? Single biggest glitch in my book. My wife. How can someone be absolutely perfect for me and I met her by mere coincidence? The gates of hell. It's a crater that's been burning for over 40 years straight. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with it being in the desert and surrounded by gases. But the fact that it's been like that for 40 plus years is insane. I'd say paranormal activity may be one. Just the developers changing things around. The fact that the moon and the sun can just about perfectly eclipse each other. What are the odds that the moon and sun would be the sizes they are and distances from the earth that they are to allow that to happen? Being depressed despite any reason. I have a perfect family. I am annoyingly optimistic. I do everything and yet, here I am. It's like someone is just pushing the be more depressed button for its and giggles. The need to sleep. Go to reset the system or it slows down. Has glitches and deteriorates because it can't clear out the useless junk and runs out of space. Extreme synchronicity. People write it off as coincidences but I sometimes don't. Whenever you're driving down a straight road on a hot and it has a road mirage that looks like parts of the road haven't rendered yet. The Bermuda Triangle. Why has everyone disappeared there? Appendix. Duck those things. The year 2020 dart from start to finish. There is no way this isn't someone testing mods and ducking with us all. Every field of study, including science, runs on assumptions that we can't prove. And no matter how much research we do we end up with loose ends. For example, we can't prove that the laws of physics have always been the same. We just have to assume they've always been that way when we run our models. My buddy, who just finished a PhD in material science, likes to say that when you go deep enough into research, you find out that everything we do, all the structures and theories and everything else, is resting on clouds of uncertainty. Constant speed of light, quantized space, time and energy, slowing down time as speed increases, no information out of event horizons, increasing quantization at higher energy levels. I'm convinced we are in a simulation already. The speed of light is actually just an artificial limit on interactions across the server. Interesting question. More than any anomaly or glitch, uniformity of universe is bizarre when you think about it. When streetlights shine through leaves, the shadows on the ground are a perfect grid pattern, like poorly rendered shading effects. The idea or concept of needing to prove our self-worth. Why do people have to prove their self-worth in the world? Isn't it enough to just exist? It's a strange phenomenon. It fuels a lot of the chaos that has existed is existing in the world, and it makes absolutely no sense. The karma system is broken as F. Missing items like keys or tools. Those things you're positive are there but aren't when you look, but reappear after you go back to look. This is absurd, but I know the exact moment I would call BS on reality. I was out for supper with my mother, grandmother and sister, and after we had, mostly, finished eating, there was a moment where my sister and I, across from one another, witnessed the same thing. It was a mundane dinner and mundane conversation, yet a moment occurred that I would shock my sister and I. While my mother and grandmother were talking, there was an instance where a white plate between my sister and I shook on the table. It had been clear previous, but post-table shake, a solitary French fry appeared on the plate. At first I thought I was the only person witnessing this bizarre reappearing act, however post-appearing I locked eyes with my sister who had seen the same thing. We still talk about that stupid ducking fry to this day. The speed of light. I mean, a constant? That makes no ducking sense and honestly probably has more to do with the simulation maximum processing speed. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. The names Lincoln and Kennedy each contain 7 letters. Both were particularly concerned with civil rights. Both wives lost their children while living in the White House. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both were shot in the head. Kennedy's secretary, Lincoln, warned him not to go to Dallas. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners. Both successors were named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth was born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald was born in 1939. Both assassins were known by their 3 names. Both names are comprised of 15 letters. Booth ran from the theater and was caught in a warehouse. Oswald ran from a warehouse and was caught in a theater. Booth and Oswald were assassinated before their trials. Chameleons. Worry, too many plot holes there. If they can change color, how do we know they're green? What's up with their tiny hands? And don't even get me started on their nightmare tongues. Fog is just a draw distance limitation when the majority of memory is being used elsewhere in the simulation. Putting something in one spot, going to get it and it's not there. Fast forward days, weeks, hours, and now it's there. I don't know about you guys, but this happens to me a lot. I don't think I am that scatterbrained because I specifically remember putting, say, my glasses on the bedside table. Then they aren't there. I go look all over the house. Come back into the bedroom and there they are, on the bedside table. Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. But it only applies when you think about it before doing a thing. It's like a secret cheat code in a game, except it's the opposite. Character glyph. Seizures. Deja vu. SP. Any explanation that has been offered sounds a whole lot like science pulling the that's not a glitch. It's a feature. Routine. Black holes are definitely a hole in the map. What's down, over, up, through there? We haven't the faintest idea, but once you go through, good luck coming back. Australia. It's the first continent of a DLC we never got to. Now it just feels off, somehow. It was going to be the one you play when you've beaten the rest and are growing bored. The distances between particles. If we could magnify the hydrogen atom so that its nucleus, a proton, were the size of a basketball, then its lone electron would be found about 2 miles away. Everything seems to be mostly made up of nothing. When you look really closely, it's as if we're holograms. We're a simulation that more advanced humans are running to see if how the humans in the simulation, us, find out that they are in a simulation. Then the humans that made our simulation can use that to determine if they are in a simulation. Simception. Not seeing baby pigeons like TF are they at? I've had some really weird coincidences in my life. Like statistically unbelievable. I think that, and as UYAYAA pointed out about deja vu, would be it. Edit. Coincidences. I was born in a really small town and moved 700 miles away when I was 5 yo. I grew up with a girl that was born a day before me in the same hospital, and we didn't realize we were from the same town. My bus driver in middle school was from the county over. I ended up becoming best friends with a guy I skated with in college and high school who randomly dropped our hometown name. Later on, maybe 12 years later, when I was bartending, I was giving a co-worker it for his northern accent, and then he told me our hometown's name. I ended up doing AmeriCorps volunteer stuff, and I wanted to go as far away as possible. 17 hours drive. Over 1k me. Turned out the county name was the same as my birthplace. There's some other stuff with numbers, but it's zip codes and I'm gonna keep it private. Also, to point out, I grew up in a mid-sized city. I knew only those people from the state I was born in. High-pitched ringing in your ears? Or is it your brain just syncing with the cloud? Plot twist. The devs of this simulation are asking this question to find the glitches and bugs so they can fix them. The never-ending lightning strikes that keep happening in one town in Venezuela. They have been going on for centuries. It's called Catatumbo lightning. Wikipedia link. How the human body works. Think about this. Right now, you breathe. You digest food. Your heart beats. Your body is doing a staggering amount of important chemical reactions, processing the byproducts, and reproducing cells, using DNA, and all these other proteins, gases, fluids and other things. And you do not even think about it. I mean, you can try to hold your breath, or not sleep, or don't eat or drink. You can do that for a little while. Try to not pee, poop, fart, sneeze, sweat, cry, laugh, of any of a myriad of things that you take for granted. We all do these things. That is evidence that we were programmed to do so, mindlessly, constantly, until we die, respawn, QED. The Mandela effect is a glitch and Pikachu did have some brown on his tail. Planck length. We discovered that the universe has something that corresponds to a fundamental resolution pixel size, if you will. If this turns out to be a simulation, then that's a blatant clue we just ignored. I'm sure it's been said already and this comment will be hidden under others, but doppelgangers. I feel like I need to smoke some weed before reading all the answers on this thread. The platypus. It's just so different than any other animal module. When two people are looking for something and they both find it at exactly the same time. I know psychics aren't real, but far too many people I know, myself included, have had accurate premonitions. Before cell phones, I had a Wiccan friend. We were waiting in an apartment for another group of friends. Standing on the balcony looking out at the street, she said, "Oh, here they come." And 3 seconds later, they came around the corner. She couldn't have seen them. Something funky is going on. Unified control system leaking information between discrete entities would explain it. I look for something, exactly where I thought it to be, 2-3 times, and on the 4th, I see it, right where I thought it was. If you know the game Yellow Car, that's a good example. I never saw any yellow cars, or only enough to make the game a thing. Now I've been playing the game for a few weeks. Yellow cars seem to be everywhere. When you can't sleep at all and you try everything to sleep but seem unable to, then that means that the sleep servers are full and you gotta wait till the servers give you a spot. That Malaysian Airlines flight that went missing. I have epilepsy and I swear when I have a seizure it feels like I have been reset. It's the strangest thing. I feel tired but it legit feels like my body is booting up. Like my seizure was a deletion of unneeded data, an update and a reboot. Instances of mass hysteria such as the meowing nun habit and such. Maybe it is. I just read an article where the guy who created Wolfram found out that plugging in data into certain functions over and over again eventually gets you something that looks a lot like a physical universe. Edit. Here is the link since apparently no one can see my replies to other people for some reason. It's really long and a bit out of my league, though. The fact that in the last 2 US elections, we had to pick between the 3 worst possible candidates either party could hate given us. Pain. One time I will literally fall face first into the ground and be fine. Then I will maybe just accidentally walk into a table with my toe and start planning my funeral already.